What is up, members of my collector corps? It is I, Super Mario Zilla, or you can call me Vinny, and today we will be taking a look at the S.H.MonsterArts Iris. Iris was revealed to be a companion release for the new MonsterArts Gamera 1999. Gamera was finally getting his enemies to join the MonsterArts line, this being the first and hopefully not the last. Being one of the cooler looking monsters in my opinion, this seemed like a dream come true. Super detailed, seemingly superposable, and overall it just looked like to be a solid release. It should have been a solid release. However, the price is not nice. $300 for the figure. Yeah, just as much as the Biollante special color version, which in my opinion for Iris, that is ridiculous. No matter how you slice it. Despite that price, is Iris worth having in the collection at all? Well, I'll be honest, my first impressions were not very good, and getting to mess with this figure and studying it for the review, those impressions got worse. I'm sorry to say, but this figure really missed a mark. Let's see if Iris is still worthy of a spot on that Gamera shelf. To start on a positive note, the sculpt and paint on this figure is incredible. By far one of the best looking MonsterArts I've seen in the line so far. The silver is beautiful, just gorgeous looking, and some of the back plates have blue shading which looks amazing. Really nice touch. The yellow orb in Iris's head also is solid looking and pops when on the shelf. The shoulder plates have a gorgeous blend of red and orange, which I am a sucker for. It really looks good here. Also, the figure sports translucent plastic on the chest and upper legs. The crystal water blue looks really nice and makes him stand out. Just a really nice color with a really nice sculpt to help make Iris pop on the shelf. Blended with silver as well, it looks great. No paint slop, thankfully. The yellow part on his stomach, same story, it looks really nice. The sculpt work is very intricate on this figure and I think they absolutely nailed it. All the marks and muscly kind of details, all that is really good, especially the blends of oranges and reds. I absolutely adore paint blending and this is no exception. You can see it on the arms, the body, and legs and it is killer. There really isn't much wrong I can name about the figure honestly, it looks really good. I haven't noticed any paint blemishes on mine or sculpt blemishes. Okay, sure, I found a couple of tiny marks on the figure, but thankfully is not a problem at all when looking from afar. The feet or hoofs and lower legs look fantastic. Again, I love the sculpt marks on the silver, it really does look amazing, whether it's on the legs, the arm blades, or all of Iris's back plates. The tentacles or tendrils are mostly smooth, pre-curved sculpts. They're more red than orange on the body, and there are some sculpt marks at the base of the tendrils. The pincers are silver with a yellow orb in the middle of them. If there's one way to describe Iris, it's on point. Again, I'll say this, it's probably one of the best looking figures in the MonsterArts line. Overall, I think he looks like a really solid piece for sure. I have no problem at all with the figure because I couldn't find many problems. So for sculpt and paint, Iris gets a pass. And this is where it all goes downhill from here.
Iris's articulation is kind of bad, I'm not gonna lie. There's such questionable design choices on this, and there's just being a little bit too limited for my liking. For anybody's liking, really. So, what do we got? Head is on a ball joint, and the neck is also on a ball joint, so he can look up just about this high. He cannot really look down at all, but he could still look left and right. Just a little bit. These shoulder things are on ball joints, just for adjustment reasons. I'm going to talk about these because they love the fall off. Pretty much the majority of these back plates are on ball joints. For adjustment reasons, or if you want to try to make Iris look cool, stuff like that. the arms on ball joints. However, these giant spikes on the forearms do get in the way. Okay, rotate. Elbows are on a double hinge, so he can move his elbows just about 90 degrees, and he does have a dedicated bicep swivel. You can also rotate the forearm pieces, just for adjustment reasons, and these spikes do move on their own as well. The top part of the waist is on a bit of an ab crunch, but there's barely any range on it, or maybe I'm not utilizing it properly, but I don't know. Actually, there we go. But that's all you get, pretty much. This part right here, I don't think crunches forward that much, but we do have, there we go. We do have a bit of rotation, which is pretty decent. Yeah, the key word here is decent. It's not really all that impressive. Legs. So, what I believe is going on here, the crotch piece is completely separate and was super glued into the figure, I believe, and it connects directly into the thigh joints. And if that glue breaks, it's done. You're not fixing the figure, no matter what you do. It's done. So move the legs with extreme caution, and I don't know if I even explained that properly, but that's what I believe is going on here. Just again, be careful when moving the legs, because screw that. They're on ball joints, so he can kick forward just about this much. Backward just about this much, and doing the splits, he cannot do the splits. Thighs can swivel. And the strangest, whatever. Strangest case of a joint I've ever seen. You see this? This is supposed to be a separate piece. It's connected to the knee on a hinge, and it's connected to a ball joint in the upper thigh. And if that pops out, you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get that back in, because look at how they did this. What were they doing here? Was this necessary? Was all that excess engineering? Oh no. You see? Was all that excess engineering necessary? Are you serious? Was any of that necessary? Because other figures, figure arts or monster arts, do knee joints much better than this without all that excess engineering. What were they thinking? Oh no. Here we go. You do not believe how much of a difficult time I had trying to put all that back together. No, just what were they thinking with that? What were they thinking? What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Ugh, that is defeating. Like, what were they thinking with that? What kind of moron thought that was a good idea? Anyway, oh Jesus Christ, here we go. You know what? I hate these things. They fall off no matter what you do. Jesus, can we move on? The feet. Give them on 3 pieces. This one piece in the middle, and the hoofs, the toes, whatever you want to call them. I'm not sure. Either way, the middle pieces do move outward like this, but they cannot really move inward all that much. You're gonna get the angle rocker out of the toes. You're gonna get the ankle rocker out of the toes, not the middle piece. And they can also close in on each other for adjustment reasons, just in case you need it. So he could stand no problem and does have plenty of ankle rocker, so that's good. Tentacles. These things tend to fall off a lot. And this is by far the best part of the figure, because why? Because you could get them in pretty cool poses. You could do a lot of cool stuff with them, if you're careful with them and make sure that they do not fall apart. But this is the only part on the figure that's actually kind of good. And the pincers open and close. The problem with Iris's articulation is that it's strangely limiting. It is really limiting. It's not even funny. It's not even funny how limiting the articulation actually is. Again, it makes you wonder, what were they thinking? Now, limiting because of how limited movement the torso even has, and how limited movement the elbows had. Now, the arms and the elbows I can understand, because I'm not sure what other way they could have gone about that. But everything else, like the knees and the upper leg on the back, what the heck? And the torso could have used a bit more range, let's be honest here, as well as the head, because he can't even look down at all. He can look straight ahead. So what were they thinking? Yeah, this isn't the best figure when it comes to articulation at all, because it just has questionable design choices that make no sense. Yeah, and again, strangely limiting articulation in both the upper body and the legs. And I guess the knees as well, because you almost don't want to bend them because of how much they could fall apart. I'm not sure. I've never been so mixed on articulation at all on a figure. I have never been so mixed on it at all. I'm not sure what else to say about it, because it's just really, really awkward.
Iris comes with a good amount of accessories, but that doesn't mean that they're fun to use. In fact, it's a complete hassle. First is the base and the stand that Iris has for his crotch to keep him standing. What you're seeing right now is a shorter clamp piece attached, which is for Iris standing, and there's a longer clamp piece for Iris flying. And let me tell you, putting this all together without tearing the figure in two is really difficult. Stuff falls apart, nothing stays together, it's a convoluted mess. The wings, I will say, look great. The cool blue translucent plastic looks great. The thinner based wings go to the thinner based tendrils. The larger based wings go into the larger based tendrils. It's easy to visualize if you have the figure in hand to understand what I mean. You have to put the stand pieces together in a certain way so they can hold up the wings properly. But getting the wings in Iris is a pain because the pieces I showed in the articulation section keep falling apart. The longer stand clips go on the top and the shorter stand clips go on the bottom. You also have to bend Iris's knees in a certain way, which has that leg problem as mentioned earlier. You need to attach the new leg spikes, but they only go in when the knees are bent in a certain way to make it look aesthetically pleasing. The knees are stiff. Then when it's time to put Iris onto clamps, you got to balance him correctly. There's a tumbling warning in the instructions. Then you got to make sure he doesn't slip off, because if he does, pieces may go everywhere, and then you got to spend 5 agonizing more minutes to put it back together and put it back on. Then he finally stays. Hooray, he's in flying mode. But what if you don't want to put him in flying mode anymore? You have to spend more time putting Iris back together into standing position and hope to God nothing falls apart. Make sure his tendrils are secure and make sure his knees don't fall apart. Holy crap, this is a massive pain in the ass. Does it look like it's fun? Because it really is not. After showing all of you the pieces and what it all looks like, I will never change Iris into flying form ever again. It's way too much of a pain to set up properly. It's too much effort to the point where it's not worth it. If it was going to be this much of a pain, I think I would have preferred a beam instead of all this crap. Ugh, this is too much of a convoluted setup. Here's a size comparison with other figures you may or may not own. Iris is not that big. Yeah, he's not that tall, so what the heck is up with the $300 then? Sure, he's taller than most monsters, but that doesn't mean he's King Ghidorah big. And yes, he scales great with Gamera and other monsters, but that doesn't mean his size justifies $300. What? Iris is quite the oddball in the line for me. He has a lot of stuff I like about him, like his looks, but then I remember the articulation, the accessories, and that price. $300 is a big no-no. This should have been $200 instead. I'd absolutely be singing a completely different tune. What I hate the most about this is how limited he is with the displays. Flying form is arguably just turning the figure into a statue, and the figure itself can barely be posed in many ways besides the tendrils. And even then, the tendrils find ways to fall apart or slip into a different position. At least on my copy anyway. Again, I love the way the figure looks, but everything else, meh. This figure has no hope in succeeding on the market. Folks, don't pick this up. If it's on sale, then go for it. But paying full price is a ripoff. And the fact you need a stand too because his tentacles make him back heavy is ridiculous. It's Ghidorah 2019 all over again. And you know how many problems that figure had. Even doing toy photography with this thing wasn't fun. I usually have fun even with generally bad figures when it comes to toy photography, but this is a different story. I had no fun with this figure at all. The figure is below average, 4 out of 10. This figure disappointed me from the start, and I was expecting so much from this being a $300 purchase. But getting it in hand, no. Just no. And that's a shame because that probably means we may not be getting any more Gamera Kaiju, at least not anytime soon. This is one figure I won't be touching for a long time.